This is the Transparency Podcast Show.
Welcome back to the Transparency Podcast Show. This is a special edition episode for 2023 Pride Month. As you know, many politic issues going on, especially trans community is the target. So today I have a return guest. He is going to share us a lot of his involvement in the advocate, and then also he has a new book came out. So let me introduce you, Shane Ivan Nash.
Hey, Shelby.
Hello.
How's it going? Good to see you again. Hey, everybody. I'm excited to be here and just promote stuff, and I've even got merch available. You're doing very
well. See, it's less than a year we sitting here, and then you have accomplished so much. So let's, if anyone haven't seen your episode from previous, I will put the link under the show note. But last time we were here, we were mainly talking about your case at WeHo. Yeah. So is there any anything that updates, anything going on that case?
Unfortunately, I have become another statistic.
Oh.
Just like every other case that was in the area. Eventually the information was submitted to the DA. And, the DA rejected it just like every other case. Not enough evidence, even though, there's enough evidence, but it just seems to be a thing that happens, especially with trans men. I mean, if you look at what happened to Banco Brown in San Francisco, they won't even release any of the information from the Walgreens where he was shot by a security guard, and the DA refuses to look at it. Wow. So it's pretty interesting how trans men are getting treated, especially by law enforcement and the system itself. So it's kind of why I wrote this book. Yeah,
so I think that happened for you, and then it kind of inspired you to do more this year. That's why you. Yeah. I want to mention we have this crown here because you just recently got elected for Mr. Pride, LA Pride 2023, right?
I certainly did.
Yeah, congratulations.
It was actually a group effort. I just want to say shout out to Group B on TikTok. Thank you so much for fundraising. Y'all are amazing. Just want to make sure I tip my hat to everybody that fundraised. I actually used TikTok to fundraise and was able to achieve enough to be Mr. LA and Mr. WeHo Pride, and they're going to actually ride me around in a Mustang topless car or convertible of some sort, and they're going to parade me around, and I'm going to have to touch my pearls and screw in the light bulb. I've learned all the techniques, how to be a proper gentleman.
Yes, I especially in Southern LA, I think you're the perfect person to be. Otherwise, who else, right?
Right. I was born and raised here. I mean, honestly, being Mr. LA Pride is probably something that I didn't realize was a dream of mine. But now that I've done some of the work and I've been part of the mix of it all, it feels so natural to be in this position. You're right. I love LA in so many different ways and shapes and forms, and it's great to represent it.
Okay, good. So now we're gonna dive into your book because I'm very inspired because you are doing the music, you are doing advocate for trans community, DJing, acting, and now you have this book. Yeah. So what inspired? I know you mentioned that your case kind of inspired you to do this, to write this book, but is there any other reason? Because I kind of flipped through earlier. You have so many different pictures and then also mentioned a lot of different trans men in this book. So can you tell us a little bit about this book?
Definitely. So for me, this book was a work of love for many different reasons. It's super cathartic. I wrote it in about 3 weeks. And the stories that I'm telling are stories of transmasculine individuals that are not told, while simultaneously telling the education of what it takes for trans men to actually receive rights. And on top of it, it kind of gives a manifesto of some of the things and people that I've met throughout history, especially here in LA, and some of the untold stories, some of the heroes, icons, and mentors that I've run into. And especially, even where I grew up as a DJ at Oxwood, that's where we met. So I made sure to write about Oxwood.
Oxwood, because we mentioned Hamburger Mary in this show a lot. But Oxwood is actually the longest run, longer than Hamburger Mary's Jamie's.
Yeah.
And I started Hamburger Mary, and then the second place is Oxford. Yeah. So kudo to Laura G. She's the one promoting
Shout
it,
out.
and she do it like 10 years, I believe, right?
Yeah, it was about 10 years.
So and then I was able to meet a lot of different people on the valley side.
Yeah.
And I did some events for her too, and you were the DJ. So it was very, very, community oriented place.
Yeah.
Yeah. But too bad, the location, I heard a developer bought it. And so that's why we stopped. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually what I'm talking about in my book, is kind of how the patriarchy kind of takes over spaces, especially trans spaces and lesbian bars. Because for me particularly, I mean, before I identified as trans, I did have an experience as a lesbian living through that world. And most folks don't know this, but the Oxwood was actually one of the oldest lesbian bars in the entire country. It's where I learned my grounds as a DJ and community, and how I learned how to really be a part of the community in that way. And it was really challenging to kind of watch it fall apart in the way that it did, just purely because of finances.
Right.
I mean, I talk about it in the book. One of the highest grossing nights there was actually the trans night when I was a DJ. And that's when the bar made the most money. Right? No, it's okay. No, get your flowers. You deserve them. We worked really hard on that, and it was a beautiful time. I mean, remember that? That to me almost seems like a fever dream when, we would come out from the back patio and there'd be smoke flying everywhere. And then I would get into the DJ booth and I would just play some crazy set, and it would just go from one place to the other. And we'd have such beautiful times there. And, that's, again, one reason why I wanted to pay homage to a lot of the stories that built me as a trans man, while simultaneously really explaining to people what the patriarchy really has done to trans masculine individuals. Because folks like myself kind of get looked at as, oh, well, he passes and he's got a wife and he does this and he's done that and he's done that. And somehow I've escaped the patriarchy. But it's really quite the opposite, because I still struggle with it in ways that folks might not perceive. But as soon as I open my mouth and start telling you some of the things that I've been through, it all starts to click for people, because as soon as I expose to people I'm trans, all that privilege just goes right out the window. People automatically, I've been talked down to like I'm a child. I've been talked down to like I don't have 20 years of experience doing certain things, I mean, I practically came out of the womb as an advocate. And it's really interesting how this book, I hope, brings a conversation. And I wanted to design it, something nice like the Tom Ford book. So I put a little extra effort into it with the photos and the quality of it, so that it really hits people and ends up on coffee tables and starts discussions about not just trans people, but people in general. And that's really what the conversation of the book is. I'm using my identity as a trans man as a vehicle to kind of talk about the intersectionalities of society as a whole. Because trans men themselves, I mean, we face kind of the shitty end of both sticks sometimes. We've got to man up when we got to, do things and have those expectations, while simultaneously we're told to sit down and be quiet. And that glass ceiling that everybody kind of alludes to that has been crashed is actually twice as thick. I've not broken that glass ceiling. I'm still hustling as many years as I have been to make sure my bills are paid. I don't have some kingdom to sit on or some great thing. I mean, that's why I'm creating the merch that I'm creating and the books that I'm creating, so that people actually have tangible things. Right. But it wasn't an easy journey to get to that point, and it's a lot of privilege, even with what I carry, and a lot of pain and a lot of suffering that I've been through. But again, that's why this is really cathartic for me, that multiple things are kind of happening simultaneously, because for the last couple of years, I've been through the ringer in a way that I feel like my ancestors' spirit, everyone was testing me and teaching me. I even have a new spirit guide that has been helping me, Blossom C. Brown. She's shout out. I want to make sure to shout out to Blossom, because she's really been speaking wisdom into me and guiding me. And I'm learning to be less stubborn, listen more, and just be open and receptive, because most folks don't know quite the trauma I've experienced even showing up. I mean, coming from a cult as a kid through Scientology and then transitioning and then trying to be in the performance world and the activism world and all of the layers that I have to face on a daily is just, it's a lot of challenges. And it's just nice to be in this position where folks are seeing trans men and really giving them visibility. So,
yeah, that because we all been through some sort of transition and struggles, including myself and many other guests on the show.
Yeah.
So I have an open mind when it comes to certain things like politics, because I normally on this show I don't like to talk about politics because to me it's very divided people. But since like I mentioned in the beginning, since our community has been the target of somebody's politic agenda, so that I feel this show has to have the responsibility to speak out, to tell a story like what Shane just said, because mainstream people probably just see, oh, this person, they, let's say from, oh, this man just dressed this to try to go to the woman's bathroom or something, or maybe this man tried to go influence somebody's kids or something in a negative way to their eyes. So I feel, just talking about the bathroom, if you're on YouTube, you can look at Shane, look at me. Let's say if Shane go to a female bathroom, I'm sure he might get arrested.
I probably would get beat up.
Yes,
and to be honest, I understand the reaction, because if you were to see a guy like me walk into the women's restroom, you would automatically assume some sort of nefarious situation.
And as me, I might get in trouble.
Well, for you, it's even different, because I think it's even more susceptible to violence in a different way. I think we kind of have our double-edged sword in the way that we'd be perceived in those moments. But either way, we'd be facing violence, the two of us.
Yeah, so that's why I feel a lot of Main Street people's perspective. They have their own belief, which, okay, that's fine. I respect that. But I think they should open their, zoom out and see really what's going on. They probably have an image of a trans person, what they look like, because I'll probably show a text message that I have. Recently, go on a dating site, and guys who saw my picture, and then they then read my profile.
Yeah.
Many times happens that way. And then when I, maybe try to meet, and I have to making sure they know first. And then I say, really, you are trans? I cannot believe it. You used to be a man, something like that.
Yeah.
And my response is, well, because our society kind of give a misimage or a misunderstanding of a trans person, woman or man, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Have a stereotype. So that means it make people only seeing one side of it.
Yeah.
So when it comes to politics, I just want to give it this disclaimer, okay? Because I don't want to sound, because many people already kind of suggest me I should, talk about politics, and I don't want to sound like contradict to myself. Yeah. So I've been kind of not battling, but kind of think, where should I take this direction? Because I certain things, like I'm a pro business, I'm a pro choice, pro freedom. That may be on one side, and then, but I'm also into rights, human rights, trans rights. Okay, so I'm kind of struggling myself, and then I all of a sudden it hits me. I said, wait a minute, why do I have to choose one side? And this is what happened to our society. They've kind of make us to choose one side and dislike the other side. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think so that's why I'm gonna proceed this more neutral way, in the middle. So back to what we're going to talk about. Okay, so trans rights. So you see a lot of politic climax going on. Have you got any different treatments affected in your personal life?
Yeah. So right now, politics and legislatively, trans people are being attacked,
Right.
almost a form of legal genocide, especially actually trans masculine individuals. And that's kind of an unknown story that folks are not talking about, because simultaneously, folks are attacking rights on HRT, access to healthcare, access to EMTs if we're shot, and not even giving us health, care to actually survive that gunshot wound.
Right.
Simultaneously, you're seeing rhetoric increase from certain politicians that are actually calling for things like our genocide. And then on top of it, you've got the issue of abortion rights, which most folks are looking at that as just cisgender women. But a lot of folks, including myself, actually need access to that, because especially with my incident, if I didn't have things like Plan B and the care that I needed, I could possibly have bled out. I could have possibly be, carrying a child right here. There's so many different layers to what's going on legislatively. And unfortunately, because of the way that cisgender women are treated in this country, that trickles down to trans men as well. And that patriarchal, hierarchical structure still exists within our community and as the greater world at large too. And it just seems to be quite unique, because folks will tend to, again, look at folks like myself or other folks that are, passing and living these lives, but they're not really diving deep into what's actually affecting us. And it's really unfortunate that conversation isn't being had. And that's a big reason, why I wanted to write this book, is to really bring the awareness to the layers of what trans men face. Because I know that there's so many folks out there that can even look at my life and go, well, you've got this and you've got that and you've got this. But in reality, I'm still trans at the end of the day. There's still people that want to harm me just because I exist, no matter what privilege or access I have. And that's kind of unfortunate, because we even see folks in our own community that are kind of siding with some really unfortunate rhetoric that is really harmful to our community, in this idea that somehow it's going to prevent them from being targeted by these groups. But throughout history, I mean, this book talks about 1933, the Sexology Institute in Germany. That's actually a big reason why it was released on May 6th, is because that was the day that the books were burned. And I wanted to write a book and release a book that same day to kind of reset the energy inertia for our community. And all of these subject matters throughout time, we've already had them written down about where we were going, women's rights, trans rights, gay rights. We already had a beautiful history, and it was erased by the Nazis. And what we're seeing with rhetoric today is exactly the same patterns. Exactly the same. You can follow it so much so that we're allegedly in stage 8 of genocide right now. We're 2 steps away from folks actually. Doesn't matter if you're a trans Republican, like someone like Caitlyn Jenner, who thinks that she can avoid her privilege and access and, kind of make folks feel a certain way that they're connecting with her because of her certain views. But at the end of the day, those folks are going to come for you too. They're already coming for folks that are in interracial marriages. They're already coming for so many different rights simultaneously. And if we actually take a look again at what happened in 1933 with the brown shirts, is what they were called, it's the same thing that's going on with these patriot guys that are, running around with masks on and harming people. And it's so concerning to me, because to me, I love America. I'm very much an American.
Yes.
To a degree, even in my advocacy, I can see it as a form of serving my country, with serving and fighting for rights in the way that I have, and the sacrifices that I've put in. It's so much. But at the end of the day, I don't see my access to healthcare, my access to employment, my access to housing as a threat to anyone else's access. I feel like somehow this narrative has been brought down onto the trans community as kind of a scapegoat, especially economically where we are now as a country. we're in a lot of dire moments. I mean, the debt ceiling, everything that's happening.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I was gonna say, seems like every time there's a election coming up, they want to target a minority group.
Yeah.
You know,
Folks that can't fight for
right.
themselves.
And then I think it's the purpose of doing that is redirect people's attention. Because like you say, we have debt ceiling and we have recession, we have layoff, and we might
AI is a threat,
AIs, and the dollar might devalue, and we have foreign policy problems. See all those.
We've
People
got Russia. We've got so many different things going on,
People don't want
I love how you said we're not going to get political, and I just went so hard for you, huh? You're like, I'm sweating right now. Why are you doing this to me, Shane? This is what I do, Shelby. I've learned to start talking and tell my story because I honestly, you've seen me. I've been very professional and quiet for many years, but I've also learned a lot in that position, and now I feel like it's time for us to start speaking up.
Yeah, and I see you wearing a LA hat.
Yes, I am. I'm doing that, because the Dodgers actually made the right decision, and I'm very proud of you as Mr. LA Pride. Thank you very much for bringing the sisters back because I was born and raised here. I love baseball, and it broke my heart to see that, and I'm so happy to see that correction has been made for our community because we want to celebrate. Look, we like hot dogs and beer too.
Yeah, so since we are on the branding or on the organization topic,
yes.
So I want to mention about the swimming sports team. When I heard this story, and I actually on a news diet since February, but I do know what's going on.
Yeah.
So when I saw that the second, I forgot her name, the cis woman.
I forget her name.
Yeah,
too.
But that
don't
woman,
me.
yeah, that is okay.
Sorry.
But that woman, that sports lady, woman came out and she was crying on TV. She was like, feeling her number one, crown got stolen, blah blah. And she said she worked so hard, blah blah blah. But when I heard that, my thinking is, but the trans woman athlete also work hard. You don't know, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure she did work hard too.
Yeah.
And my reaction to that is they all compete together, right? If this individual is not happy with whoever in the competition, she should speak out in the beginning at the first place, not after she lost and become second place.
Does that make sportsmanship, sense? Honestly, yes. Right there. That's literally a bad loser. And I've played sports a long time. That is not how you do it at all. Genetic testing alone when it comes to sports. And this is one thing that folks want to sit here and debate this, that, and the other about bone structure and all of that. The rigorous amount of testing that goes on to put these folks into professional sports is ridiculous. I mean, they can't have certain vitamins because it'll test as they're having some sort of advantage. So the fact that this individual was so upset just because she lost, it's not, that's not how sports used to run.
Right.
If anything, I mean, you want to talk about all American sports, what happened to being a good sport?
This episode is brought to you by Kitcaster. Kitcaster books you on top podcasts. How do funded startup founders attract prospects and talent? Podcast interviews. How do entrepreneurs with exits find new deals? Podcast interviews. How do C-suite execs differentiate in crowded markets? Podcast interviews. Kitcaster books you on top podcasts. Click the link in the show notes for a special offer. Celebrate good conversation.
Yeah, so that's what I feel people are, just follow what the news said, and then they don't have their own critical thinking. See if she's not happy, she'll speak up in the beginning, even before the game start, not after. Right?
Yeah.
And then what if she happened to be number one? Would she be still doing this? Right?
Exactly. It's selective. It's very selective and convenient how folks are using that trans identity to somehow escape any accountability when it comes to maybe their own flaws. Maybe she trained harder. You have to realize as trans people, I'm sure you feel this way. I know I feel this way. Many folks I've talked to, we all feel like we have to go 10 times as hard. So it's not a
Yes.
surprise to me that trans
Yes.
athletes are excelling, but also
Yes.
you really take a look at the records,
Mm-hmm.
trans women are actually not as excelling as much as they are, because that narrative that they're creating isn't actually true. But if you actually take a look at someone in the trans masculine community, the boxer,
Mm-hmm.
guess what? His last fight, he knocked the guy out clean. They had to stop the fight. So where's the narrative that, women are weak and they can't transition and have this,
Mm-hmm.
strength? It's all just this rhetoric that
Mm-hmm.
is causing confusion. And when in reality,
Right.
like scientifically, we were all born women at the end of the day. I mean, really, it's just some chemicals that happen in the second trimester. Some things grow, but as someone who takes testosterone, I can tell you, like, we're all pretty much the exact same thing, with just different egos and problems that we carry. That's really what it
Different
is.
experience make
Yeah.
who we are. So misconception. I feel like because in Florida, the drag show community got attacked.
Yeah.
This is also, I think it's part of the misconception because
Yeah.
because we both know
It's a veil.
drag people who does drag is not identify their gender as a transgender.
No.
Yeah, they're just entertain, just like we have talk shows or comedy,
Yeah.
stand-up comedy. So
Yeah.
that's just part of the entertainment.
Mhm.
So it's kind of sad that, Florida happens
They did
to
it
be like that.
purposely, actually. They're doing it purposefully, legislatively. If you really take a look at what's going on in the politics,
Mhm.
the way things are being presented and the way that there's a certain agenda to get onto the school boards, to get into certain areas that they didn't used to touch. Now, all of a
Yeah.
sudden, they're getting in those areas.
Right.
They're creating these narratives that are completely not true about our community, while
Mhm.
simultaneously creating and stoking fear to make it seem like
Right.
we're doing something, when in
Right.
reality, we're like 0.1% of the population.
Exactly.
And the fact that you have to realize even Tennessee is spending the money they're spending to legislate maybe 3 people in the state, while there's,
that's
issues when it comes to
different.
housing,
Right,
employment,
exactly.
roads that are, need resurfacing.
Yes.
There's so many more important things that
Yes.
these politicians could
Right.
actually be doing with their time, and they're not. They're
Mhm.
finding everything they can to distract and push it onto minority communities. And unfortunately, because the trans community doesn't have even the support within its own community of the LGBT as a whole, because white supremacy is really interesting how it kind of plays out in our community, especially cis white gay men. I'm saying it, Shelby.
Okay.
I wrote it in the book, so it's already in there too.
All right.
But the way that power structure and their proximity to white supremacy and how they kind of navigate within the community, it's like, I'll do this, but I can't do this. I'll do that. I can't support this community because then it will take this. And it always involves money. It's really just kind of gross at the end of the day, because, that 70 cents to the dollar that women allegedly are making to the $1 of the male, that hierarchy structure, that patriarchal structure bleeds within to the LGBT community. And it's time that we actually really address it. And,
Right.
I got a few chapters for you to read at the end of the book if you need any questions on what that looks like. And, you can always reach out to me on Instagram too if you have any questions.
Yes, we will. But this last time I checked, just right before the show, this book is out of stock right now.
It's out of stock,
Wow.
yes. Yeah.
So how can people order?
So the 26th, it should be back in stock is what I was told.
Mhm.
So you can actually go onto Amazon real quick, type in Shane Ivan Nash, my full name, and there should actually be some music available and the book available. You can get it on Kindle. I have the hard copy version here available. Also, one feature I wanted to let folks know, if you actually, for some reason, get to meet me in person at the very end of the book, I don't know if we can see it in the camera, hopefully, but I made sure to put a signature line there because I want to meet people that actually read the book and have discussions with them.
Can you sign for our show?
I can sign for your show, yes, of course.
And we're going to put it as part of our decoration. Is that okay?
Of course.
And I know you do a lot of things like musicians, DJ, advocate, and now author.
Yeah.
Do you have room for one more position? And this too.
One
more room? Because
someone on city staff said maybe I should run for city council. So maybe I might do that. And another thing about this book, this is a feature that I really do love. So I am a cannabis connoisseur. I do love some cannabis. And, you know, the old wives' tale of watching Wizard of Oz and listening to Dark Side of the Moon, how it kind of syncs up together.
Yeah.
So with this particular book, there's actually a playlist on Spotify that I timed out perfectly so that when you read the book, you can listen to the music and it just goes with it in that same kind of fashion and kind of adds an element. Because my hope is to either turn this into a documentary or maybe even into a film on just discussing it and some of my life history with LA and just some of the cool people that I've met.
So I was going to ask you something.
Yes.
Because, you know, this show is about trans community, or anything related to trans. And I feel, you know, you mentioned about Invisible Man. So I would like to invite you to become our guest host.
I am so excited for that. You have no idea. First of all, the setup here is amazing. I love the temperature in the room. It's perfect. Joke to the sound guy. And, you know, I love working with you and having this discussion and kind of elevating our community and really bringing folks forward, because I feel like this is a discussion we need to have right now. And I want to do it professionally. And like you said, neutrally. I know a lot of people see trans folks kind of sit into the idea of running to the Democratic Party, which to a degree we have to because they do vote in certain ways we do. But even myself, I find myself sometimes in the middle because of the way that we're treated and put in the middle of things, but we don't actually get real services. So if there's, you know, the left or the right, if they actually want to start being held accountable and actually show up for the trans community, maybe those decisions can change. But right now I am blue leaning just because of everything that's going on. I think it's important to vote that way. But, you know, it always opens room for discussion for folks that are making even mistakes and holding them accountable within our own community, because we can all do better, you know?
Yeah. At the end of the day, trans or not trans, straight or not, or gay, we all pay taxes, right?
Exactly.
We have our rights. We should be all united together.
Right.
Otherwise, you know,
representation or taxation without representation is like, you know, in the Constitution. So we've got to actually have the representation of trans folks and that access. And, you know, like I said, we work 10 times as hard. We have to as a community.
Yes.
And I feel like if we put more trans people in positions, especially in society, I think we could do a little bit better with some solutions. I can see kind of two sides of things because I've walked in both bathrooms. I know which one, they both need work in different ways, you know, right?
Yeah, same here.
we can attest to those type of things, and we can do, you know, build better bathrooms for everyone, you know, that could be our first cause.
Yeah.
Toilet paper, always stocked, you know.
Right. And especially, you know, sometimes it is the neutral bathroom.
Yeah.
And when you know, let's say man goes in and use the toilet, they usually have to see up and then put it down.
Yeah.
That's, I don't know, to me it's kind of gross.
No, but what I will tell you is I've been using a lot more gender neutral bathrooms lately because they're in like West Hollywood. Yeah. And I have to tell you, I kind of like it. And here's why. Because I think people now have to like face each other a little bit more. So like the bathroom is clean. So, like, if a cute boy goes in behind you, you know, you have to, like, make sure you didn't pee on the toilet. And I'm telling you, I feel like it's cleaner because everybody's, like, more intermingling with the same toilet. So there's more accountability there. Like, oh, John just walked out. We know he just pissed all over the floor. Oh, like, you know, like, I don't know. I'm kind of finding the silver lining to it because I know a lot of folks have fear in it. But it seems to be, you know, an interesting new territory that we're discovering. It feels cleaner to me. I feel like it smells less even.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna end the show here, and if anybody have any comments or any show ideas, because Shane gonna join this show, and he's gonna bring his, you know, his side of friends or guests that he know, especially trans man community, and then we'll, you know, that's make the show more full circle, right?
Yeah.
So I thank you
for
coming to the show, and we look forward for your hosting of the show in next season. Okay.
And also stay tuned. Look for me in LA Pride and WeHo Pride. They're going to drive me in a little car. It's going to be cute. And follow me on TikTok, Shane Ivan Nash. I go live almost every night. So look forward to see you all.
Thank you.